Sunday, everybody. Well, it's been quite a week here. We've been running all around doing a lot of crazy stuff. We're getting ready for 2 separate camping trips next weekend. Xander and I are going backpacking, and Crow and 2 of their friends are going on their first car camping trip by themselves. So we've been running around trying to get that ready. And this weekend was Pennsylvania's first dip into the 90s, and we've had 2 days at high temperatures, and I don't do well in high temperatures, so there wasn't any hiking going on this weekend. But I did want to provide you with something. So what I have today, I did a homily at the BuxMont Unitarian Universalist Fellowship here in Warminster, Pennsylvania, where I'm a worship associate, and I wanted to share that with you. The theme of it was hiking and the care of the soul. And I hope it gives you some insight into where I'm coming from when I'm out hiking and what I'm thinking about and why I'm doing it in the first place and why I'm sharing it with you. So I hope you enjoy it and have a great weekend. John Muir talked about going into the woods to lose his mind and find his soul. Well, I'd already lost my mind. Like so many things, it began with the virus. I was fortunate. No one in my family got sick, and I didn't lose either of my jobs. My day job sent us all to work from home the day before the official shutdown was ordered, and my night job was essential, so we kept delivering. But that was its own stress. Going out in public day after day to a small room with more than 60 people coming in and out all day led to more than a few panic attacks. But I had to work, so I shut that down and locked it up. With the switch to Zoom for everything, my social and spiritual worlds became almost indistinguishable from my work world and began to feel like obligations rather than havens. More and more, I disconnected from those supports that should have helped me. On top of that, I was now living with 3 to 4 20-somethings who should have been developing their adulting skills on roommates or partners, and instead were practicing them on me. It finally got to a point where I did the only thing that a sane person could do. I ran away from home. I went for my first real hike in December at Lake Nakamixon. It was muddy and wet and long, and when I got to the end, it was the most at peace I had felt in a very long time. Almost as soon as I got home, I started planning my next trip. I had found a new way to my center. People often talk about experiencing nature as a spiritual practice. The time in the woods reconnects them to the divine. I will leave it to them to speak to that. I love the woods. As a pagan, it would be strange for me not to. But for me, it's the act of hiking that is the spiritual practice, the care that my soul needs. Hiking for the soul is a lot like ragtime music. On the one hand, your body is moving along at a measured, repetitive pace, doing the same thing again and again and again and again. But that frees your mind to travel in so many different directions at once. That's how the soul is. It is many things all at once. All elements of who we are as a human and as a spiritual being. Each soul is a tiny bit of the Ein Sof of Kabbalistic training, the limitless all that makes up all of existence. And I can experience all of that while hiking. Hiking can take you out of yourself. The repetition and an endurance allows your mind to free itself. You don't want to focus on your current situation because everything aches. Or you don't have to, because it's just one foot in front of the other again and again and again and again and again. And like most acts of meditation, this sets your mind free to wander. Maybe you start processing an issue that's been burdening you that you couldn't take the time to reflect on in your daily life. Maybe you start outlining a project you'd like to start. Maybe you mentally start drafting a homily you should have written weeks ago, but were too busy hiking. And maybe something rises to the surface that you didn't know was brewing in your subconscious. Hiking can be active meditation, allowing your subconscious to finally have room to breathe and stretch. Alternatively, hiking can make you fully present. We live in Pennsylvania, specifically in eastern PA. Rarely, if ever, is the trail flat and smooth. It is often littered with rocks, if not made of stones entirely, requiring our full attention. Sometimes your body just aches or your pack doesn't sit right. In that situation, it can be hard to get to that Zen state of meditation. But that also offers a different way of viewing the world. You start to visualize how your body is put together, how this strap on your pack is impacting that muscle in your leg to make it ache, how the balance of your posture affects your stride, how every foot meets each rock. It elevates your awareness. You notice more. The owl pellet on the trail, the patterns of your breath, the way the breeze moves shadows across the landscape. You are completely in that moment. You move in and out of both states on a hike. I have been on hikes where I've been so focused on putting one foot in front of the other that I was startled into full presence coming upon a barn swallowed by the forest, or dozens of great blue herons lined up in the river fishing. That sharp shock from one state to the next adds to the wonder of the moment, and often I just stop and stare. I am fully present in those moments, and they remain sharp in my mind now. You do not have to hike the Appalachian Trail to be a hiker. You do not need all the latest, lightest gear to backpack. The most eye-opening moment I had coming into this activity was watching a video from a hiker in Delaware who drove to a trailhead of the AT, hiked 2 miles in, set up camp, spent the night, and then hiked out the next day. I had this preconception that backpacking involved 60 pounds of gear and took days and days of trekking over vast wilderness expanses. Seeing another way of doing it was a huge paradigm shift for me. I wanted to get in the woods away from people to see things most people never would. And now I realized that I could. The other thing hiking gave me was a creative outlet. I've been a writer for most of my life, but working 15-hour days doesn't leave much time for composition. And like many of us, the pandemic crushed what remaining creative spark I had. When I started hiking, I started filming short clips to share with my mother, who was stuck inside. But she has always been my outdoor role model, so I knew that she would enjoy them. But very quickly, the videos developed into something more. At one point in my life, I had planned to become a filmmaker, and I started drawing on what I remembered from that time about composition, shot framing, light angles, and all the rest to start improving my videography. I started adding music. These short clips quickly became short films. It became my flow experience. I would sit down to just do a little editing while the dryer was finished, and not come out until the whole video was done, and it was 1 a.m. But I wasn't tired. I was invigorated. I had created something. I had a bad fall about 2 miles into my last overnight. In going up a rock scramble, I lost my balance and fell backwards down the rocks. But aside for the first 10 seconds when I thought, oh no, my phone, oh no, my glasses, oh no, my head, I was never afraid. I was centered and grounded. I was able to evaluate my situation. I had control. It was the first time in a long time I had felt that much control in a crisis. It made me feel centered and strong. It challenged me, and it was hard, but in the end, I felt so good about what I had accomplished. I had gone to the woods and found my soul and my mind. COVID is slowly coming under control, and we're starting to move into whatever our new normal will be. Some of that involves picking up habits and behaviors we set aside when the outbreak started, while some will be putting down things we took up as coping tools. I suspect a lot of sourdough starter will be going untended. But hiking is not one of those things that I will be putting down, at least not for a while. There is still a lot of chaos in my life, like those much-loved 20-somethings, and I have some big transitions coming in the next 18 months. I will always need centering and calm that hiking brings. Maybe not to the extent that I do now, but life is full of uncertainty. Having a place to find peace and strength will never be something that I turn away from. I can't wait for my next hike.